As runners, we all challenge ourselves in ways we never thought possible, pushing the boundaries of what we're capable of to smash through targets and set ourselves new, bigger and better ones.
This awesome hobby that we share gives us one thing in common, and it brings us together as a community. Whether you're working towards completing your first parkrun or you're a veteran of the sport who's run 100 ultra marathons, we all know the feeling of reaching that maxed out effort and our own red line.
Welcome to our podcast, where your hosts Brett Elsmore and Andy Maguire discuss the struggles, the successes and everything in between on our running journeys, as we all work towards the next time we're running the red line. Hello and welcome to episode 45 of Running the Red Line. I am your host Brett, and I am joined, as always, by at the moment a medal, but also the 3:21 guy. Andy, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all right. Thank God you said that, because this thing is so heavy. I can't wait to put it down.
Are you? Have you come down off cloud 9 yet?
I don't think I will do for a long time. I think.
How does a 3:21 man sound?
It sounds good. But all right, I'm going to start this, and I know you're going to be like, "Shut up." I can't help but be annoyed. I am annoyed. 2 seconds quicker, and I'd be that 3:20 man the man that I really wanted to be. And there is nothing that you can say to any runner who doesn't hit target that will really make them not be annoyed that they didn't hit target, because
those 2 seconds will play on your mind until your next marathon.
Yeah, as much as I'm 99% like in a world of like happiness and disbelief, I'm also like, oh, 2 seconds. And you'll see, because I'm about to get my video out, hopefully soon. I've just been working on it the last couple of days. And there's a hairpin bend at about 10, 12K. And I decided to take the inside line on that, because I thought, well, don't go around the outside, because we don't want any extra running. But if I'd have done that, I wouldn't have lost 2 seconds, because it was like literally I had to stop, pretty much slow right down to go take a 90-degree left. Then I had to almost pretty much stop again to take another 90-degree left. And it's like, I wonder if that was my 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. I remember when you called me after the race, one of the first things you said was, if I'd have just started sprinting 2 seconds earlier.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. But that is the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the game. It's like
it is.
You do the best you can in the moment that you're in, and you can't give anything else in that moment. And, maybe that 2:21:01 was the best that I possibly could have produced on the day. And I actually do believe that is probably true. There are a few things that we'll go into that, maybe hindsight is wonderful and all that maybe I could have improved on. But you do what you do in the moment that you think's right, don't you? Like, for example, I eased into the race and didn't start my final sprint or my last hard finish until arguably a bit late. But, it's a marathon. It's a game of chance. It's like chess, isn't it? You've got so many different factors to deal with. And one of the biggest factors that I hadn't really contemplated, I know I went to Spain and did a marathon, but was the heat, just how warm it was. It was a big factor. And
what was it when you finished? Was it about 23?
Yeah, it was about 22, 23, I think. The last board I saw, when I literally had vision to look anywhere else but the course, or in front, 6 foot in front of me, was 20. It got to 20 degrees. It was 18 degrees before halfway. So, But this sounds like I'm moaning and making excuses. We all had the same conditions to run in. And, I'm never, ever going to make excuses because I wasn't prepared enough. which sounds exactly like what I'm doing. But it was just a case of it was hot, and
Yeah.
my little UK winter puny little body wasn't quite ready for it. So maybe if I do it again, I might have to do the Matt Rees school of training, whereas I might have to put my dry robe on and get on the treadmill. Or I'm going to have to go out to Valencia a few days early. Whether that would make a difference, I don't know. Because, I mean, again, I'm sure we'll get to this, but I did the shakeout the day before, and I thought, I'll be lucky to get 4 hours here, because
Yeah.
I was sweating buckets. It was the worst shakeout I've ever done, ever. It was like, it was dreadful. I put a jacket on. That was my first mistake. So I thought,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be that warm out there. It's, I went out 7 a.m. I thought, it's a bit, it's on the cusp of it being t-shirt weather. So I thought, well, no, I'll slow myself down and wear a jacket. Bad idea. Within because I walked to the shakeout run to start the run, and I was already warm by the time I started, because that little kilometre or two walk I did was warm me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was. I can't believe how much I've started moaning already. I've started moaning already. It's awesome. The Valencia weekend was phenomenal. One of the best experiences I've ever had in terms of running. Met some absolute diamonds out there. Met some people that I've met before and know. I've met some new people, and it was just
And
what an experience.
And going off the message you sent that you're not, well, you can't even remember sending, you probably met some people that you can't remember meeting.
I did. I probably said hello to far more people than I'll ever remember, because a few beers were had. Went to watch the football in an Irish bar, and a guy called Dave walked in, and he was traveling solo for, can't remember the reasons why. He said usually I'd be finishing the race and I'll be out for dinner with my wife, but she couldn't come to this, so here I am having beers with you, and I was with this lad called Edwin, and he kept getting us beers from the bar, and he kept getting this Dave from Dublin, he kept getting the Guinnesses in, and I was sozzled by the time we left the football, and that was 7 o'clock.
Shall I read the message you sent?
Oh, don't. Oh, God.
Because it's brilliant. I proper chuckled when I read it. So,
first of all, this was to the Quinies as well, wasn't it? And there was a bit of a nod to an extras reference, or a Gervais restaurant reference there. I think there's a, which is why I chose the terminology I did.
Yeah, this was at our time, 11:54 on Sunday. So that must have been what, 12:54 for you?
No, the opposite, 10:54.
Oh, okay. So 10:54 for you.
5 to 11. Not too bad.
See, but cheers, lads. I'm currently a drunk slapper who's going around other runners asking them if they've got a 15-minute PB or not. I had 6 Guinness, and I reckon I could have another 6.
Oh God, yeah, I was a pissed up slapper. That's what I was. But I just celebrated, and Laura wasn't there, so the cat was away. So the mice started playing.
Yeah,
and
and then after KQ had read it, he just responded with, "This makes me so happy." You put, genuinely forgot I wrote this. Turned into Paul Gascoigne for a few hours on Sunday nights.
Yeah, it was funny. Sunday night we had so basically we went. I'd met this lad, right, called Edwin, who's who he must watch the videos and stuff, and he came up and said hello, and we were running a similar time in the pen, and then turns out we ran a very similar time on the day, and we sort of hung around afterwards, and just sort of got ourselves back to being human again after the race, and then we both said, do you fancy a beer to celebrate? And Ed was staying well out of town, and he said, "Yeah, I'll come back into town." And he's a mad football fan, just like I am. So he's like, "Right, I'll meet you at 4:30. We'll go and watch it. We'll go and find a bar." And I was like, "Right, here are the options." And the only options I could find to watch the football were all Irish pubs. So we found this Irish bar. I think it was an Irish bar anyway. And literally, it was so funny. There was a Real Madrid match on, and there was some Spanish people watching the game. And at 5-4, 5-5 our time, there was a sound because literally they just turned the Liverpool Man City game on, and everyone went way because all us tourists, all this English and Irish in that bar. Well, we'd basically said we'd stay to watch the game, so the Real Madrid fans had to leave, and and then the beers started going down, and I was bear in mind as well, I was with Edwin, who's from Eindhoven in Netherlands. I didn't even stop to consider that he couldn't understand me or anything like that. But his English, by the end of the night, his English was far better than mine.
Well,
with
what
Dave
was
the
it far
Irishman as
better,
well.
or were you just understanding it differently?
I think so. Yeah, I think I was speaking Dutch by the end of the night. But then we went on to meet a few people. That's it. So straight after, we went and met a lad I know from Malvern. You probably know as well, called Henry Pugh. So Henry ran a really quick marathon. He ran 2:46.
Oh, wow.
Which wasn't even a PB for him. But he ran a really good marathon. He was really happy with it. And he said, "Do you want to come for a beer?" So we went and met him after the footy. And like I said, I was already sozzled then. Then we met him and his mate and his missus, and we had a few beers then. And then we went and met Gareth, Welsh Gaz, who was out there with his coaching crew, and went to another bar, and then we had more beers. And then we went to a pub after that. I've just remembered. And then we called it a night. Yeah. So a bit of a pub crawl in Valencia on the Sunday night. And you should hear this. You should, because I recorded it as well. You should have heard the state of me on the Sunday morning waking up. It was like my own stag do. So it's a proper pissed up slapper in Valencia. But it was good fun though. It was really, because I've not had a beer since August.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big drinker anyway, but my problem is I'm British. Therefore, I'm a binger.
Yeah.
So
I can't have just one.
No, I can't just have a nice little half a glass of Leffe or whatever the Spanish. No, I could have had a nice, Spanish beer or an Estrella or something like that. No, where's the Guinness? Let me get on it. Where's it got any nuts, mate? Have a pack of crisps, slice it right open. And put them
I was going to say, put it in the middle of the table.
Just all help yourself, lads. We get 15 packs of crisps. And but it was honestly that the atmosphere in Valencia on the night was awesome. Everyone was still in there. Well, not in their kit, but you could tell people hobbling around and everyone had their medals on. And it was you just have this nod of appreciation of someone will walk past you and you just sort of say, yeah. Because you could see they just done the marathon.
Were the Valencians pleased in the evening that you were all taking part in the?
I think so. I got the feeling that they were very angry at the government and the local government rather than the event, because as you've heard many people say, it's a massive economy booster, the Valencia Marathon. I wouldn't be surprised if it generated, well, maybe not billions, but millions, because the amount of 35,000 runners, I think. And then you think about the extra people that would have come for the marathon to support, or family, organizers, volunteers, everything. And for example, the taxis, I think so many people will have profited out of, and for obvious, for brilliant reason as well. And out of this weekend, for example, I landed on Friday night, and the taxi driver, I actually think the taxi driver could have actually been sort of like Max Verstappen in taxi form. I've never been so scared, but so impressed in my life. He was a really sort of gentle, nice guy, but did a 25-minute journey in about 4 minutes. And honestly, going through the traffic, weaving through the traffic was nothing short of terrifying. But he he was basically doing shuttles to and from the airport because I had to get in a massive taxi queue on the Friday night. So obviously we'd all come into town for the marathon, and it was a bit like the end. It was all a bit like kicking out time at a club. You know, when I used to go to Broad Street or something in Birmingham, it's like you'd get in the taxi queue and you'd wait for your turn to get in the cab, and the taxis there was like a never-ending cycle of taxis joining the queue. It was about an hour to get a taxi on the Friday night. So I even had a vague hope and dream of going to the expo on the Friday night when I landed, but no chance of that because of the taxi queue. So I just went straight into my accommodation. Via
where you found what did you find in the accommodation that you were really pleased about?
The Pop de Ping. There was a Pop de Ping there. There was a microwave. I couldn't believe it. I reckon they must have listened to the podcast last week because not only was there a Pop de Ping, there was a toaster.
Amazing.
So and there was this like a Carrefour. There was like a Tesco Express downstairs in my building. So the first thing I did was went and got some like bagels and stuff. So I had some for the morning and for the marathon morning as well. But had a Pop de Ping.
Tommy D did respond and was laughing that your response to what a microwave was, but he said it is both, but they generally use microdon.
Well, that's upsetting, really, because Pop de Ping is better. So, but it's still brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
The other thing I was going to say about your prep for the race, tell us about Saturday evening.
Oh God. Okay. So I took your doctor's orders and did absolutely nothing on the Saturday. If anything, I was a little bit bored. And about 4:45, 5:30 at night, probably earlier than that, because it was still light. It was probably about 4:30, 5. I thought, right, I'll go and get something for my tea. Now, I'm a creature of habit. If I have something and I like it, I'm going to get it again, especially in a foreign country. And I thought, the night I arrived, I went to this Carrefour and I bought myself like a pasta pot. In fact, it was a spaghetti bolognese. And I couldn't read the instructions. It's probably like, make sure you do not eat this cold. But I thought, it looks good. It looks good enough to eat cold. It's like a tagliatelle with like a bolognese. I thought, that looks perfect. And so I went and got that again. So I literally went down my lift because I was on like the 7th floor, and I could see. I went on the balcony, by the way, because we got a little balcony, and I could see that the coppers were like making like riot, putting the bars up on my little side street that I was on. I was like, well, what are they doing? Because the marathon doesn't come down here, which I later discovered it did.
Oh,
we literally ran past my flat, and I was like, "Oh God, that's where I could just literally go home if I wanted to at like 40k." I went. I thought, well, didn't really think anything of it. Because apparently the day before, on the Friday, which I didn't see anything of because I arrived late, there was a protest against the Valencian president because of the way he handled the floods, and I did a bit of Googling. And it was due to happen again because I went downstairs. I looked on my road, my little quiet road. Well, quiet road is in the city centre. And so, for example, right, in, let's say, New Street in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So, you know where, imagine you're walking where all the German market stalls are. You're walking up New Street. You got like, what's there now? Tim Hortons, that sort of area.
Yeah.
Those little side streets that are normally
like where the Briar Rose and all that.
Where the Shakespeare pub is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was on the equivalent of one of them. So I was on a quiet-ish side street of a main city centre. So not a lot of traffic coming up and down my road, but it was central. And I saw the coppers closing the gates, and they saw me walking out, and they were like, no, they waved me forward. I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay, yeah, fine. And I went to the shop, which was literally to my back garden and back. Like it was like literally 30 seconds. Got me spag bol in my hand, and I walked back, and they'd closed my road, and I was like, my front door's there. I was like, what's going on here? It's like, no, it's not, no possible. And I didn't realise that there was a massive planned peaceful protest that night, which I later discovered, because the whole of that square, which is the equivalent of like Victoria Square in Birmingham, a massive Trafalgar Square, the main street in where the town hall is, was just had thousands and thousands of demonstrators there with flags, people with what are they called? Tannoys, public address systems. Trumpets.
You were doing the trumpet symbol.
Yeah, sorry, Madness were there. And then I was like, I couldn't get back into my road, and I had to, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get stuck out here now all night till like 11 p.m. And by now it was like 5:30, 5:15, and I was like, I was saying to the police, I was like, my door is there, and I thought, okay, they don't speak English, I'll have a go in Spanish.
Yeah,
I thought
Duolingo
I'm gonna have to
coming into play.
So I'm going to have to make some stuff up here. And I thought the only words I knew are "mi porta está aquí," which I think means my door is here. Because I couldn't remember the word for there. And I was pointing at it, and he said, no posible, no posible. And I was like, "Mi apartamento está aquí." And I was pointing at the whole building. He's like, no posible. So he made me walk all the way around the block. And he said, ask that guy there. Walked 10 minutes around the block. Guy said the same thing. I was like, but I was by this point, my side, there was a side street to my side street. I could almost touch my building. I was like, and there was a woman with a dog. And I was like, I couldn't remember the word for next to, which is like circa. Right, that's what I should have said, but I couldn't remember it. And I was like, "Mi apartamento está next to the perro," which is dog. And I was like, this policeman he's just said apartment, blah, 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 the dog. I was like, he must be a mental case. What is he on about? Why is he so angry with his spaghetti bolognese? And I was like pointing, I was gesturing. I was like, what am I doing? But I was getting more and more irate. What I should have been is a little bit more calm and collected.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll tell you what will show these European coppers: aggression. That's the best way to get what you want.
Yeah, they're prepping for a protest. So best way to solve your problems is be angry at them.
Yeah, and point at dogs. And I was like, and he's like, I was like, perdón. I was like saying all the words I knew. I was like, por favor, marathon mañana, which is like tomorrow. I've got the see, I knew the word mañana would come in handy.
Yeah.
And the guy obviously understood me or felt sorry for me. I don't know which one it was. He was like, oh, for God's sake, come on. And he just waved me forward and climbed. I had to climb the fence. And I was like, oh, gracias, muchas gracias. Marathon mañana. He went, okay. Buena suerte, he said. Good luck. So after about half an hour of pleading with Spanish coppers, they finally let me back up to my building, but I did not leave again. So that was my... And then a helicopter, by the way...
I was going to say, yeah.
Was going round in circles above my apartment for, no joke, 4 hours. I was like, how much bloody petrol have they got? They've got to land soon. And it literally, until I think 10:30 at night, it was still going round. So anyone that stayed in the city centre of Valencia on the Saturday night will know what I mean by the blooming El Helicopter, because it was loud. And but yeah, I mean, it was all, my I know I laugh about it, but my inconvenience was nothing compared to what like the Valencians have suffered. Because a few people showed me some pictures of their route they took in on the coach and the train, and you'd think, well, the tragedy was 6 weeks ago. I'm sure they're back up on their feet by now, and the places are starting to look a little bit more. Everything's fine again. 'Cause it's not in the news. It's the opposite. It's still a disaster zone. Like there are cars piled high still.
Did you see Will's story when he was on the coach going back to the airport?
No, I didn't. I don't think I saw that.
He put up a story on his Instagram when he was on the coach, showing going past some of the stuff that had gone on, and there was just towers of cars all piled up on top of them, each other, and just everywhere looked brown because it was still all covered in mud. You'd
occasionally see cars driving through Valencia that are literally just caked in mud. I saw people doing. Obviously, it was very, very special for those Valencians doing the race. I saw one bloke running it in wellies, running a marathon in wellies, because in Valencia they just don't have wellies. Why would they? It doesn't get any colder than 10 degrees.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but now the floods have just left this thick layer of mud, and it's just absolutely decimated some of the local areas. The mud has, and apparently there's a national shortage of wellies. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I saw one bloke literally carrying a wellie as well over the finish line. So it is a serious. And while I'm on the subject as well, and I'm not don't want to guilt trip anyone into this, but I did this yesterday because I realised I hadn't done it. I donated just €10 to the cause, because on the Valencia Marathon website, you can click on their homepage. It says if you want to, there's like a shaky hands emoji, and it's like Valencia for Valencia. If you want to contribute, just donate below, and you can see what other people have donated. One bloke donated, or woman donated, €1,000. So people have been so generous, and since they've put this fundraiser up, which is what, 4, 5, 6 weeks, they've raised over 100,000 just from people donating. There are so many other GoFundMe's and Just Givings and stuff like that around as well. But this one I did just felt a little bit, I don't know, just felt more authentic. And I thought, I just, instead of me giving someone I don't know some money, I just thought I'd just go to the official thing and do that. So that just made me feel a little bit better. And apparently they had a scheme called Bib number 0, where every finisher on their behalf, the marathon donated €3 each. So, so there's a lot of money.
And there was about 38,000 runners?
Yeah. Nearly 40,000. I think it was 35,000 or something.
So that's 100K.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully if anyone goes this time next year, Valencia will be in a much better state. And for example, the metro, which is the veins and the arteries of any city, any big city, was still not running when I got there. Not a metro in sight, not an underground train and stuff. So I couldn't. So that's why I had to get a cab from the airport to the town centre. And getting around, you had to get everywhere on foot. I mean, you could take buses or cycle, or there's other things you could do, but I would normally just, out of habit, just get the metro or the subway. But it was still not running.
Did you fly in and out of Valencia Airport, or did you go to Alicante?
I went to Palma, Mallorca, my first flight, and then I flew into Valencia.
Oh, so you landed at Valencia?
Yeah. For the second flight on the way in. I tell you what was cool. We landed about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and we flew over the finish line. So we came from over the Mediterranean, and the City of Arts and Sciences, the main building that you finish, where the finish is, it is nothing short of spectacular, by the way. Like nothing you've ever seen in your life. Like the architecture of these buildings is spectacular. And because we flew from Mallorca, we flew straight over the finish line, and even in the dark, you could just see it. It was just all lit up, and it looked. And that was the first time I really started to get excited. Was Friday night, like seeing that, flying over it was so cool.
Yeah. So, you got there on Friday night, got a taxi to your hotel, and just settled in.
Yep.
Tell us about Saturday. What happened? When did you get up, and what did you do?
So Saturday morning, set my alarm for 6:30, and I got up and had a bit of breakfast. And I took a loaf of saurine with me.
Excellent.
Do you remember at school reading Flat Stanley?
Yeah.
Well, it was like flat saurine. So my saurine had been on my case, and I didn't get it out until the morning, and it was just completely compressed. It looked like some Light Strike Pro after on the Adios Evos, and after 100K, and it was just So I had a bit of saurine, I had a slice of saurine, and I went for my shakeout run. I decided to do it on my own, just because I didn't want any. I mean, again, I know I said this on last week's podcast. I don't want to sound rude to anyone. So a few people were saying, "Oh, are you going to the Ben Parks one, or the Say Sky one or anything like that. I thought, well, I just want to do my own thing, which I'm glad I did now, because I just didn't want to have it, because I knew I needed to get to the expo. I knew I needed to get to get my number, and I knew day before it's going to be chaos, and it was. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. So I got my shakeout run done. Well, before I got my shakeout run done, I was panicking. Well, I was panicking during my shakeout run because I made the fatal mistake of looking at my heart rate, because I thought, this feels a bit harder than usual. And bear in mind, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And look, my heart, no joke, was 165, and I was running 6-minute Ks, which is 10.5-minute miles. I haven't even trained that at that pace. Like I've been running quicker the whole time. So I was panicking, if I'm being honest. I was thinking tomorrow is going to be horrible, because it was quite humid and at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
But you were wearing a coat.
I listened to Kipchoge once say, the one thing he does for his easy runs is wear a jacket, because it slows himself down. And that's the last time I'll ever listen to Eliud Kipchoge. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't got a clue what he's on about. And so I thought, right, wear your jacket so you're not tempted to go too quick. And I took my Pumas with me, which were my walk-around shoes for the weekend as well. And to be fair, I did actually really enjoy the shakeout. I saw Chloe randomly.
Yes, you ran past her in the street, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was running. I said I wasn't going to do this on the podcast, but I just thought, you know what, I can't help it. So I got into the Turia Gardens and I ran towards the finish line, went and saw it. That got me super, super excited. And then,
that possibly was one of my favourite moments of the weekend, though, was when you sent me a photo of the finish line and went, it's not that blue.
It looks rubbish. It's all clear. It's if anything, it's really boring. It's not a very good colour. It's not supposed to be blue. It looks like someone's put a big plastic bag over it. What's going on? This is rubbish. Turns out they've got a layer of protective covering over it.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you do know they've got a layer of plastic to protect it from the weather before the actual race. You were like, makes sense now. Yeah.
I was so underwhelmed. I was like, this is rubbish. I'll just stop my watch at 400 to go and just call it here. I'm not even going to bother running down there. That's rubbish. And then, so I got my shakeout run done, and then I walked home. So I just stopped my watch at 5K. And also I wanted to be home and traveling up to the expo before all the shakeout runs started, like the Ben Parks one, which obviously would have had hundreds of people there.
How far away from your apartment was the expo?
Oh, it was probably like, it was a half an hour taxi drive.
Oh, okay. So you had to get in a taxi and get there. It wasn't in the middle of the city.
No, it was about 12. Yeah, it was probably about, probably would have been a good 10K, something like that. So it was probably runnable for some people, or at least cyclable, which is what I think they wanted to promote. There was a bus there, but that's it. So I got back from my shakeout run. I've been texting Will the whole time, and I said, do you want to go up together? Because he was maybe going to go up on the Friday. Excuse me, but we went up together on the Saturday. So I went and saw Will, which is awesome. That guy is what I love about YouTube, I guess. Well, not everyone's like this, are they? But he's exactly, if not more, affable in real life.
Yeah, he hasn't got a persona on YouTube, has he? No. No. Who he is on YouTube, that's Will. Yeah.
He's just the most calm guy I've probably ever met. Like, he's got this sort of horizontal nature of like relaxed and calmness, hasn't he? And that really did rub off on me on the weekend. He's just got this lovely calm nature about him. And so I remember like stood outside his apartment and I was like, I feel nervous. I feel like I'm on a Tinder date or something. Like, is he going to recognize me?
Is he going to look like his profile pic?
Is he going to look
me?
Yeah. Is he going to look 20 years? Is he going to look 20 years older than he actually is? But no, he was great. It was so nice to hang out with him, and his brothers were there as well with him. And Humphrey, his bigger brother, was doing, that's it. Humphrey would have come with us. I don't know if it's his older brother or not, actually. Sorry if that's libelous. Humphrey was doing the Shakeout as well, but he was doing the official Valencia Marathon Shakeout.
Yeah.
And he didn't know, like, because he paid for it, that's it. And he didn't know he paid for it. So he's like, the day before, he's like, oh, turns out I'm doing this blooming Shakeout run and paella party today. So I better go and do that. And he didn't know how to get to the, because no metro or anything like that. So he ran to the Shakeout run. Bear in mind, he didn't know whether he was 100% marathon fit. And, you know, Humphreys had I think he ran Madrid Marathon and needed medical assistance.
Yes.
This guy, if you ever seen Will's videos, you might recognize him. He's always got a story. He's just that.
Yeah.
He's just that guy. And he ended up doing 8 or 9K because he ran down to the shakeout. The shakeout was 6K, not 5K. And he'd done about 9K or 10K or something like that before he'd even gone to the expo. But fortunately, me, Will's other brother, Steve, and Will, and Steve's lad, we all went up to the expo for 9 o'clock for when it opened at 10. Humphrey didn't get there till about 12 or 11 because what the breakfast run do is they put on free shuttle buses to get you there after you've had your, your run with them. It took Humphrey about 2 hours to queue and get in. And then getting out again was equally similar. And by the time some of them were coming back into the city, which would be 3-4 o'clock, they were locking down the city for the protests. Yeah. So some people who'd left the expo till last minute would have had a horrendous Saturday.
Yeah.
But for us,
queuing and standing on your feet for 2 hours to get in, that's not great prep for a marathon, is it?
No. So, and it's getting warmer as well. There's no shade. There's no cloud cover.
Especially after running 10K.
After running 10K as well. But he did get his cheese sandwich, I think, or whatever they give you. So Will, Steve, and I, we went to the expo. We had a good walk around. Is that Boba or Misa that seems to be making you a little bit nervous?
It's Misa. She's just decided to climb down off the sofa and have a bit of a wander.
Oh, hello, Misa. Right, she'll soon be off a minute when I start talking about me marathon. She'll soon get bored. But so we had a walk around the expo, and we got in after sort of 10 minutes of snaky queues. So we got in relatively soon. We picked up our number, which was a 5 or 6, 7 person deep queue. And I didn't realize this, but the faster you are, the lower number you have, which I guess is most marathons ever. Yeah. So so if you're in the 2 hour 10 pen, you probably got a double digit number, and it goes all the way up to like, I don't know, well, I guess 35,000 or something like that. So I was sort of somewhere in the middle. My bib number was at 13 something, I think. And so then the guy put this thing around your which has actually turned out to be quite annoying, to make sure you didn't have someone else's bib or something. So you needed to show your wristband like a festival to get into what they call the box, but what we would call the pens and the corrals. So if you don't have that on the day, you can't get in. So if you've just bought something off a tout outside, a bib, you can't get in without this thing. But it was like a cable tie. So once it goes on, you can only tighten it. You can't untighten it. So I made the mistake of tightening it. So I had to wear it right over my wrist bone, in between my wrist bone and my hand by the day, because I'd accidentally tightened it. So I tried to get it off or tried to loosen it, but you can't.
Was it one of those like fabric buttons where it's got a plastic thing with teeth, so it stops you pulling it back the other way? Yeah,
that was it. So
you can loosen them. So I've had those at festivals, and you have to, you can loosen them, but it's a right pain in the bum to do it.
So I had to surgically remove that on the Sunday. But so we had a walk around the expo. Excuse me. It's pretty decent actually, as expos go. I mean, my only kind of frame of reference is, Amsterdam. Maybe that was a pretty big one. Can't really think of too many other expos I've been to, but it was good. I really quite enjoyed it. All the big brands were there. I'd look around Say Sky. Some of their kit looks really nice.
Yeah.
When you have a feel of it, and when you literally, what I like about them as well, they're kind of almost got like that. I don't know, like their color palette is very like camel and camo and
Yes.
desert, like that kind of color. And they've got like some cool pieces. We found a couple of other brands that we never heard of as well, which is good. We had a look at the Adidas stuff. I tried
I
on
was
some
going to
Pro
say,
4s
yeah. And
and the Adidas.
you picked up the Pro Evo 1, didn't you?
Yeah, Will was like
And
interrogating
almost,
the the
yeah, I
sales rep.
saw that. I saw that on his Instagram. But you said you picked up the Evo 1 and almost threw it across the room, didn't you?
I literally can't believe it. It's so much heavier than my medal. It's so much heavier than this cup. So much lighter than this cup. So much lighter than this medal. I'd say it's similar in weight to these nail clippers. Honestly, if you ever get the chance to pick up that Evo, that pair of Adidas, what are they called? Adidas Evo ones.
Yeah, they're Pro Evo 1s.
So these are the shoes that they've basically exposed foam, and they've only got 100k in them, really. So 2 marathons if you're lucky. And apparently, what happens to them is that the foam compresses with every foot step you take.
Yeah.
So that's why they render them useless. Yeah.
On the Pro Evo, they're the way they use the Light Strike Pro foam is different to all their other shoes. So on the Adios Pro and the Takumi Sen and all the other ones that use Light Strike Pro, they get the Light Strike Pro foam and compress it into the shape, and that's why it's really smooth, and that's why it's like got those ridges in it and everything, and they can shape it to the shape of the shoe. On the Pro Evo 1, they get a block of the foam before it's compressed and just cut it to shape, so it's not compressed in any way, and that's what gives it that more bounce and better feel underfoot. But every foot strike, you're compressing the foam as like it would normally. So they say after 100k, your foot strikes have compressed it enough to stop it being at its ultimate performance. But
it feels quite dead, I imagine, after that. Yeah.
But apparently you can still run in it and it will still work for several 100k, but it won't be at its prime performance.
But the best way to explain that shoe is just minimal. Like there is no bells and whistles on it at all. The thing that blew my mind was the grip, the outsole. It's literally like a sprayed on piece of what feels like sticky latex or something like that.
Yeah.
And that there's a black piece on the forefoot, and then there's another piece on the heel. You can see the exposed foam, in the midfoot.
Yeah.
And you can literally feel it, and it feels so bizarre. And the upper just feels like tracing paper, but like, so minimal again is the word.
Yeah. And there's no insole or anything, is there?
No, I don't think there was. Thinking about it, no. I don't know if I remember actually looking inside the shoe, but yeah, the sales rep guy was a nice enough guy, but I don't know how you can justify selling that to the general public. I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking, if you're a millionaire, if you've got disposable income, if you can basically afford it, if you can afford a new pair of shoes every marathon, which is what most of us seem to do, then go for it. Or if you're a professional sponsored athlete and you're getting given them new for free, go for it. But if you're just a mere mortal like most of us.
Yeah, because they had some stock coming in the start of this week at sports shoes. So they're selling them. They're, what are they, 450 quid.
Yeah.
But they've still got pretty much every size left. So
really?
I don't think they're going as quick as they did on the first lot that they sold. Because obviously when they did the first drop, they were limited and they were numbered. So each shoe had a number of, I think they only released 250 pairs or something like that, possibly less than that. But now, because they're selling them in batches on general release, I don't think they're going as quick as they were before.
Yeah. But I didn't see anybody, in running 320 wearing them. I'm pretty sure the guy that won it was Sawe, or I don't know how you say his name.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was an Adidas athlete, so I imagine he was wearing them.
Yeah, but that was his marathon debut as well, wasn't it? The guy who won it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, at 10k, I saw all the elites coming towards me on the other side of the road, but they ran behind a bloody bus stop or behind a tree. So I missed them.
Oh,
I really wanted to see
wonder.
Bekele. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
was like, I was like trying to film them, but they were perfectly running behind a tree. So I saw the lead bike or the lead motorbike, and the police presence around them, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, do you know, that's one thing I that made me think, wow. I mean, I've not done London or Berlin or any of the big ones, so I've never seen this before. But that's one thing that made me think, wow, this is a big marathon. Was at the front of the marathon were like what looked like police bikes with,
Yeah.
sirens, like with lights, and it was like, wow, this is a big deal now.
Yeah.
And when you see those, I mean, I did sort of see them, but from a distance. When you see them like coming past you, it is like it's otherworldly seeing people run that fast in real life. It's mad.
Yeah.
How fast they were running. Yeah.
It's like at London when you cross Tower Bridge and then turn to go down the road. On the other side of the road, the elites are coming back towards you, and you're at just gone halfway. So you're at 13 mile, and I think they're at 18 or 19 mile coming back the other way.
Yeah.
So they're so far ahead.
Yeah.
Even though you're running your heart out, they're just miles ahead. And
and they're in the pain cave, but they don't look like they are. Yeah. So yeah, that was a cool moment. But yeah, the rest of Saturday after the expo, we got a big bag of goodies, and it turns out that was a carton of milk they gave you.
Yes. Somebody commented on the video and said Cola Cow was a chocolate milk drink as well.
Because at 20k, we ran through, an archway, like an official sponsored thing, to the sound of mooing. They were there advertising their product. No music, but on the big speakers was just farmyard sounds, and it was bizarre, absolutely mental.
That's amazing.
I was just running through Valencia, going, where's that come from?
Is that what a cow sounds like? Do that again.
Yeah, that was more like a bull. I mean, I didn't really. I need to get into character. Hang on. Moo! There we go. That sounds a bit like a ghost, actually, doesn't it? A pantomime. Yeah, that cow is a ghost.
Yeah, so, it was a ghost of Christmas present.
Yeah. So that was good, and the rest of the day
the other thing they said was the oranges were persimmons.
Yeah.
So Valencian persimmons.
I didn't have any.
What?
I didn't have one because they were giving them out in packs of 3, and I thought, I don't want one. All I want now is chicken and chips and carbs. I'm not interested in fruit and fiber. I've just run a marathon. I start how I mean to go on this Christmas.
My diet.
Bring on the Guinness.
I was going to say my diet's now gone out the window. Although my diet before the race wasn't particularly great either.
Yeah, my diet's never been in the window. So, but no, I didn't have any because they were giving them out in packs of 3, and I thought I'm only going to just chuck them away, so they're better off in someone else's hands. But apparently, someone asked, "Where's the famous Valencian oranges?" And apparently, it's been a really bad harvest.
Oh, okay.
Because usually they'd give out these famous oranges, but no, I've never had these persimmons. Because I said they look like tomatoes.
Yes,
they were like red, and I thought, yeah. So I didn't have one, but there was no broccoli, which was gutting. There was in the expo some risotto, which came in the bag as well. But what they did was, it was quite interesting the way they did it. I think it saved someone doing this 35,000 times. You got given, as you walked through the finish funnel, maybe every major marathon does this, you got given your tote bag first, and you just leave it open, and they just chuck stuff in there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're not pre-packed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying yes and no to certain things, because I thought, well, I've got to get on a flight tomorrow, and there's no way I'm going to eat I'm just not going to eat this milk. I'm not going to drink this milk. So no, I don't want it. I don't, so I don't want your blooming nectarines or whatever they are. So no, bring on the Guinness. Bring on the. Have you got any Nobby's nuts? Have you got any pork scratchings, lads?
Have you got
I'm not interested.
Have you got any Brannigans, beef and mustard?
Yeah. So so that was me. That was the rest of my Saturday. But when I got back, we got a taxi back, and I think Will went out for dinner. I nearly went out for my dinner and nearly didn't get back. But then I had a FaceTime call with you. You gave me some words of wisdom later that night. And then I tried to get some sleep underneath the sweet sounds of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then, probably went off to sleep at about midnight by the end, and got up about 6, I think. So I had a decent night's sleep, not a brilliant night's sleep, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know before every race I've ever done where it's a big race, I have the worst night's sleep. I wake up probably every half an hour thinking I've slept through my alarm, and I look at the watch and go, oh, no, I've still got 4 hours before my alarm goes off.
There's no way you're oversleeping on a marathon, is there?
No.
On a gold race, no chance. So, one thing I was worried about, the only way I would have overslept is in that snooze section, in between snoozing your alarm. Because I'm a big snoozer, I am. I have to set about 14 every 3 minutes so I can get up. And sometimes I just cancel them. And but no, I was up Sunday morning nice and early. So I was up for about 6, half 6.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So tell us about the morning going down to the start. How did you soothe Will's nerves on the way?
I think I just made them worse, to be honest. But no, after having a bit of breakfast, I had a slice of saurine and I put some bagels in, and I could only eat, so like the equivalent of like half a bagel. So like, like one half. No, I put 2 bagels in, I had 1 bagel. That's it. I just couldn't eat the second one. And I bought some peanut butter the night before from the shop. So I had 1 peanut butter bagel, 1 butter bagel, because I could never eat 2 peanut butters in a row because my mouth just goes. So, and I had a slice of saurine. I told Will that, and he said, "Is that all you've eaten?" And that made me worry, because I thought, that is not really a lot of stuff to eat before a marathon.
No.
But I just couldn't eat the bagels. I don't know. I was maybe slightly worried when he said, "Oh, is that all you've eaten?" I thought, "Oh God." But I'm glad I didn't overeat, if you know what I mean, because I said I wasn't going to have any carb drinks or anything like that. So I just had to rely on that. And I did have a very carb-filled day the day before. But met Will downstairs on the street, and then we jogged to the start line, which was about, probably took us about half an hour. So I think it's 2 or 3K. We basically walked 10 minutes, then we jogged 10 minutes, and then we walked the rest in. And the atmosphere, it was, that walk when you're all walking the same direction.
Yeah.
And it's like so deadly early in the morning, but you just feel the buzz in the air. And then you can hear the faint sound of the tannoy in the public address system in the distance. And you think, oh, I'm getting excited now, but really nervous. I actually was feeling sick with nerves at the start.
That's when it means something.
Yeah. I was genuinely feeling really sick, which was weird. But I tried to not go too heavy on the water either, because again, the day before I'd drunk about 14,000 gallons of water. So I tried not to drink too much on the day, because I knew I didn't want to keep going to the toilet. And then me and Will found our corrals. All right. So this is one thing about the race. I've never been part of a bigger race. Great North Run need to take some notice of how Valencia did this. It was flawless. The execution of the start was flawless from my point of view anyway. So imagine, it probably helps, by the way, because in Europe, or definitely in Valencia anyway, you've got all like the New York style grid system, the American, everything's on square blocks.
Yeah.
So what we do is, imagine like the start line was, in a straight line down here. they made us all walk up here, around the block, and each horizontal that's adjacent to the start line was the different corral. So the further away you were was the slower waves, and the closer to the start were the faster waves. So you'd all get in your you'd find your pen. So if you've got further to walk, you just need to find where you are. And each pen, there are no toilets. The toilets are only in the pens, which I think actually worked quite well, because that made people get into the pens earlier.
Yeah.
When I got into the pen, well, I actually ducked a bit of tape, actually, because I found another way into my pen. But I got into the toilet, to the portaloos, and I had to wait a grand total of about 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't believe it. Took my own toilet roll as well. Didn't need it. There was about 4 toilet rolls in there, so that was really good. Splashdown complete. Then I went straight down to the straight into the corral, and this is where I saw the lad Edwin, Dutch Edwin, who came up and said hello. Then I met Gareth as well, who was also there, and the three of us just sort of stuck together, and we started the race. And the race went off bang on time. And I said, because I was in the 3:12 to 3:19 wave, as long as I'm at the back of the wave, brilliant, because I don't want to get taken out with the faster lot. But I found out somehow I was at like the beginning of the wave. I was like probably in the first quarter. And I thought, oh God, how has this happened?
Yeah.
So I just thought, right, we better roll with it.
Yeah, because on the Saturday you said to me you were going to go to the back of the pen, but I was like, no, don't go to the back, because there will be people in that pen who have lied on their application of what time they're going to run. So there'll be a lot slower at the back of the pen. So make sure you are a bit further forward. So it's probably not a bad thing how far forward you were in the pen.
And in the grand scheme of it, it didn't actually matter that much, because it was quite a slow start, to be honest. So the at the start of each, there was like a routine, I guess is the word. They played a song that was equivalent of like Liverpool's "You'll Never Walk Alone." They played like this Valencia song that, if you knew the words, everyone sang along to. It's similar, it's like a local national anthem sort of thing. And that was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. That was ridiculously loud. The speakers over there turned up to 11, and they got this song, and everyone had to do the love thing for Valencia. Yeah. And then there was no countdown at all, which stumped me, because there was no like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, blah blah blah. It was like, oh, we're off, okay. And oh God, I haven't got my watch started because I was chatting. And then all of a sudden, the race had started. And I was like, I looked at Edwin. I was like, is that it? Is that the start? He's like, yeah. So we went over 2 timing mats. And stupidly, I thought that wasn't the start. Because it's like, with the big marathons, they've got the big vertical columns with some advertising on it.
Yeah.
That was the start. I just thought that was advertising, branding. I didn't realize that was the actual start. So I started my watch about 5 seconds late. And so that caught me out slightly. And there was also, for example, the Great North Run does this. I imagine London and most big races do this. They've got like staggered gates that are all different directions. So it makes you walk slowly around them. So then you've got a clear run to the start. There was none of that. And our pen just went. There was no gun that went off or anything like that. There was for the elites, but we just got a go at 8:45, which was our time. And the waves, I think, were every 10 minutes, I think. And I was in the purple wave, which is about 4th or 5th back. And I was, fully enough, I was the wave behind Will, I think. So that's how it started. It wasn't too stressful at all. It was actually, we only gave it an hour. We said, he was starting at 8:35, me 8:45. So I said, do you want to try and get there for about 7:15? And I thought 7:15. I thought, sorry, 7:45. I was like, is that too late? So we gambled on it, because we didn't do a bag drop or anything. We went race ready. And it turns out we had loads of time. We even had both time to go to the toilet, said goodbye to Will before obviously I went to the toilet. And it was all, I don't know what Will's experience was like. By the way, he said in his first 5K, all of a sudden, everybody just stopped within the first couple of K. And sorry if this is a spoiler for when he puts his video out, but everyone just stopped. And then he said he had to jump over a fence or a curb and get on the next door road because it must have been someone had fallen.
Oh, okay.
So he thought there was like a serious emergency, he thought something even worse had happened, but it turns out it was just like there was a bit of a pile up. So we had to literally go out the way and then get back on the course. But none of that for us. The first 5K was fairly plain sailing.
Yeah. So on the start line, did you take any fuel on or anything before the race, or was the bagel and saurine your only thing you did?
I found in my cupboard on the Thursday before I went something you gave me at, I think, Bushy Parkrun. I think you gave me a beta alanine orange Voom bar. So made by the same brand that I always consume, but I never ever have that one. So I had 2 of them on the start line, and I carried the other 2 with me just in case I would want them as a boost towards the end. But I didn't end up having them. But I just had 2 blocks of that, which is equivalent of a gel. Yeah. And that's all I had. So before my breakfast, that's the only thing I'd had.
Yeah, they're strange compared to the other bars, aren't they? Those ones.
They're almost like a cereal bar, aren't they? Like a naked bar.
Sort of, yeah. They're a bit squishier, and they just look like dark brown.
Yeah,
because they're orange flavour, but they don't look orange in any way.
No. But it tasted good. So that's what I had. And my plan, by the way, was to have a gel. I just for argument's sake, I'm just going to call it a gel, even though I didn't take gels every 5K. So I took the equivalent of a gel, which is 2 blocks of my Voom shoes, which I'd pre-broken up into a freezer bag in my belt, and I'd put them in 2x2s.
Yeah.
So I could just reach in, grab one, and then they're all perfectly lined up. So I was going to have one every 5K.
Nice. Okay. So you started. You didn't realise you'd started, but you started.
Yeah.
Talk us through the first half of the race.
Okay. Well, after my little shock the day before, which was the heat smashing me, I thought it's going to be hot later on, let alone now. So let's not go out at marathon pace just in case we bonk, because I just don't. I know it's obvious to say this, but I really genuinely hate bonking. And if I can avoid it, I will, because I've been there. It's not pleasant. It's not pretty. You don't look good. It's not a good look. No. You start to think, well, this is rubbish. I just can't wait for this to be over. And it starts to affect your mood, well, massively. And then it starts to affect your experience as a whole. And I just knew that it wouldn't be a good way for me to run that race. So I just thought, I'm going to take the first 10K steadier.
Yeah.
So I didn't hit marathon pace until 10K.
Do you know what though? I am quite pleased with you, because when we spoke on the Saturday, you said to me that you were going to go out 10 seconds a K slower than target pace for that first 5, maybe 10K.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's probably a bit too slow, because you're going to have far too much to make up then in the second half. So we then said maybe go out at 5 seconds slower per K. Yeah. So that was what, 3:45s?
4:45s it would be.
Sorry, 4:45s per K. And you went off, and those first 10K, you ran at exactly that pace.
Well, I don't know which to refer to, because my Strava is wildly different to my, like, for example, this is how you need to know this. Doing a big race, especially Valencia, you need to know your splits won't marry up. So you will, for example, bear in mind, I started my watch 5, so my time should be quicker technically, because I got to the timing map quicker on my Strava than I did in real life. My first 5K Strava, 24:15, actual 24:30.
Yeah.
35K Strava, 2:45:11, actual 2:46:56. nearly 2
Yeah.
minutes difference. So it just
Yeah,
shows
but
you how much drift there is.
yeah, GPS is never going to be accurate though during a marathon, especially in a city where GPS is going to struggle. So yeah, you always say you've got to allow for that GPS drift. And yeah, that's why you want to aim for a pace that's a few seconds per mile or kilometer quicker than what your actual target is if you want to reach that time.
That's why I think a negative split is the best way to run one of these big races, because if you even split it, you're getting slower. Because if you're even splitting, let's say you wanted to run 4:45 a K or 7:30 miles, your 7:30 that you think is a 7:30 will slowly become a 7:33 because you're running slightly further because you're weaving. So that's why I think getting quicker is the best way to do it. But that's obviously.
Yeah, I know that when I run London, I learnt this mistake from Manchester. When I run London, I'm going to turn my automatic laps off, so it's not going to beep at me every mile, and I'm just going to manually split it when I hit the mile markers, because I know those mile markers will be correct. So I'm just going to manually split it and look at my split each time then.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to be is that person that says, well, the course was a bit long, wasn't it? you start blaming the official course measurements, because you don't want to be that person. Like that happened at Newport, but I still didn't claim the reduced time because the course was the course on the day.
Yeah.
And call me crazy, but I'm taking what I actually ran on the day. And I just don't. I think it's such a salty approach, isn't it? To think that you're more qualified somehow, or more than the course measurers. It's insulting, really, isn't it, to insist that your watch is more accurate than the official
someone
course
who's actually gone out and measured it and officially signed off to say it's accurate measurement.
Exactly. So I left my auto laps on because I do like that validation of every K. It gives me a readout of what I've done. Because sometimes I realize towards the end of the race, I just wouldn't check my watch for 15, 20 K, something like that. Can you hear Daisy barking?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's all right.
Hopefully she's not too loud. She's probably just heard a siren. Every time she hears a siren, she starts barking. Oh God, the camera. I've just put the camera on to see what she's doing, and I'm gonna have to go and see what she's done. I think she might have just broken the camera. So we could choose to pause this if you like, or maybe it'd be good entertainment. Right, we're at 106.22.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. What are you doing, Daze? Oh my God, Daze, what have you done? Oh my God. Crazy. Oh God. She's had the Christmas tree over.
Oh no.
There's broken glass. What have you done? Right. Brett, I'll be with you in a minute. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it's all good, mate.
You muppet. Would you mind just keeping her out there, Steve? Yeah, I'm just gonna. What are you doing? Cheers, Daze. Just had the wreath off. Oil burner's gone. All over the hearth.
Oh,
Pet cat destroyed. So hopefully she'll be okay. Yeah. Right. I think after that, we can continue. She's absolutely destroyed the Christmas tree. There's an oil burner all over the floor now that she pulled over that's now smashed into smithereens. And the pet camera, I think she's broken that as well. So all in all, a good morning for Daisy. Quite a good haul that was.
Will the pet camera have recorded? So
no,
will you be able to see?
Fortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. Oh no, it does work. I've set it back up again, so it does work.
Okay.
Fortunately, that's okay. But no, that would have been good if I could have seen.
Yeah, I was going to say if you could watch back what she did and why it's all happened. But there we go. Never mind. Right. So
sorry,
sorry about that, man.
Days.
Where were we?
We're about 10K, I think, weren't we? Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
So yeah, I started off easy. And whether that's it. You were saying you're quite glad that I chose to
to take that
start
first,
off.
5K easier. Well, you took the first 10K probably a bit easier than you wanted to, didn't you?
Yeah. So I actually, looking at my splits, so I'm going to blame all this. I'm going to blame my 2 seconds on Diego. So at just after 5K, I started chatting to a guy called Diego. Nice fella, American Spanish guy. And I looked at my watch and I thought, oh God, I'd just done a 4:59. Bear in mind, my target pace was 4:40. 4:44 on paper would get me a 3:20 marathon, but I knew I needed to run faster. So I did. I was still in the process of taking it easy, but I was taking it a bit too easy. So I thought, right, 4:59, that's an anomaly. K6, 4:57. So I was like, sorry, Diego, I've got to go, mate. I'm going to have to crack on here because I'm running literally 12 seconds behind target pace here. But maybe it was Diego that saved my marathon. I don't know. Because of that 20 odd seconds I lost on 5 and 6, maybe that's why I was able to, go a bit harder towards the end.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to let her out.
Because
just go. Never come back. Just go. Good girl. Right, Steve-O, I'm going to just I don't know where you are, mate. Okay, mate. Sorry. I'm just going to leave this door open. As soon as she comes back through it, I'll just close this one so she can go in the snug. That should be fine. Sorry, mate. Pets. Never get pets, ever. So, yes. So where were we? We're at...
so your official pace on the tracker, so for the first 5K, you were running at 7:52 a mile pace.
Yeah. It sounds about right. Yeah,
and
because
then
I was
going through 10K, you were averaging 7:48. Okay.
Yeah. So speeding up slightly.
Sorry, 7:48 a mile. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've got the things here in Ks. It's 4:54 first 5, 4:52 second 5. So at 10K. So 10K by 48:30. I think I wanted 47 ish. No, would have been 48 to get. It would have been 47:30 would have been not far off pace, but I was a little bit slower than I would have liked to have been by 10K. So 30 seconds off the pace, and I knew that. So then going into 15 and 20K, I was trying to have a gel every 5 minutes, every 5K, which was going quite well. The chews early on everything early on in the marathon goes well, doesn't it? The gels were going down quite nicely, and I did quite, I was thinking, oh, this is actually, this is all going to plan. And then I got through 15K and then 20K. Looking at my things here, I'd sped up to 4:48. So at this point, what I was doing, I was just trying to look at my average pace and bring that down. So I knew it started slow, and I knew I needed to try and chip away at it K by K and get it down to 4:40, which is where I really wanted to get to. And by now, it was on my watch. It was telling me I was about 4:46. 4:45, but in actuality it was 4:48. So got through the heart.
Halfway, you were on 7:42 a mile pace.
Yeah. So that's 4:48, but my watch was telling me 4:46, and I was thinking, I'm only 2 seconds away from target pace, and obviously I've got a lot of work to do in the second half. But I knew I needed to go second. I needed to do the second half faster, which is what I wanted to do. So I got to the halfway point, and I just subconsciously tried to just pick up the Ks. So Strava, again, we can't really listen to Strava too much, but my consistency from 21 right up to 33 was really quite metronomic. It was really good. So I've got here 4:40, 4:39, 4:42, 4:41, 4:33. That's my fastest K at 25. That's probably when I ran through a massive Tour de France style tunnel. And then 4:42, 4:40, 4:47, 4:44, 4:40, and then that's 30K. So by 30K, So 25 and 30 had gone quite well. When I ran at 30k, that's when I ran past my flat, and that was quite a surreal kind of feeling, thinking, oh, I know exactly where I am. And we just run through the city centre, and I got a bit of a lift from that. And I was feeling at that point, I was thinking, I'm actually okay, but it's really I'm starting to feel like I've got heavy legs now, and I know that there's a bit of a storm coming my way. So I just need to stay in the game, and I need to not slow down. That's what I need to do, because I know that if I slow down even by a few seconds, okay, that's just going to be a mountain to climb. You know, in the last 5k, because I really wanted to get 320. I never really said sub 320, so I would have been at that point happy with a 320.59.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking in my head, because my watch was going down and down and down. My watch at this point at 30k was telling me I'm bang on pace at 444, and I was thinking, the way I'm going, if I can still keep the 440s, I can get down to 442, 441, and then 30k hit, and I realized, okay, this is going to be really tough. So then I had, by the way, all day a gel. I took 8 gels with me, or 8 chews every 5k. I had 7 of them, so only skipped one. And the one I skipped was, I think what had happened as well is I'd stopped doing the 5k thing, and one I did about every. I think one I looked at my watch and I was at 32 or 37 or 22 and 27, so I'd missed my metronomic, by every unit of 5. So I think that's what had happened. And 32 through 35 was tough. And I think looking at my split here, I was 447, 447, 447, and then at kilometer 40, the official tracker says I'm still at 447. So I thought I was speeding up, but I don't think in reality I was. And looking at my Strava splits, I've got from halfway 20 to 25 is 23:18, 25 to 30 is 23:35, so around about the same. 30 to 35, 23:34, so speeded up slightly. And then 35 to 40 was 23:45. So staying fairly even.
On the the tracker, it said halfway you were at 7:42 a mile, and then at 25, 7:41 a mile, and then 30, 35, and 40 were all 7:40 a mile. So,
really?
metronomic, perfectly on pace.
Yeah. And it was really good, because I remember at 30, I think I put this on Instagram this week, at 37 or just before 37, I had my last gel, which was a caffeine kick, which was a caffeine chew. And I must have misjudged where the water station was, because I had it in my mouth for about 5 minutes, and I thought, I'm not spitting this out because there's good stuff in here and I'm going to need it. So I was being stubborn, but I was running like, I just could not swallow it. I'd used all the water that I'd taken with me, which is a half-filled 250ml flask. So I'd already taken all, because what I was doing was I was taking a chew, using the water station's water to wash it down. So I'd seen the distance, right, water station coming up, I'm going to have a chew. And I know that I haven't got enough saliva to see it off. So I use the water station to wash it down. And then occasionally I'd misjudge it, and I'd have to use my flask to wash it down. And because it had obviously got warm by now, it's 22 degrees, I just couldn't see off that last one. But luckily, I got the last water station. I think that literally was the last water station, and I managed to get that caffeine gel down at 37. And that's when I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to wait for this caffeine to do its thing, and then I'm going to try and not kick, but go a bit harder. So I got to this again. Take this with a pinch of salt. So 37 and 38, 449, 448. So they're like Diego K's. they weren't my fastest all day. 39, 440, 40, 442. Slowed down slightly on 41, 448. Then you go through 41. A few hundred meters after, you see the best possible thing. Now, I thought this would mentally destroy me. It says 1,000 to go, or maybe the 1,000 isn't there. It says 900 to go. Yeah. And seeing that instead of kilometer 41 was the mental boost that I needed. Because when you start to count down rather than counting up, you think, well, that's job done. I'm ready. I can send it. I can really go now. And I thought those triple digit numbers would destroy me because, the gap between the hundreds would have felt really, really far. But that was exactly what I needed. And realizing I was 900, 800 meters away from finishing was mega. And I remember vividly, well, I think I'm right in saying this. At 800 meters to go, I looked at my watch and I'm pretty sure it read on my watch, bear in mind I started 5 seconds late, 3:17:15. And I knew, okay, at track nights, I can maybe do a 3:20, 800 at a relatively, well, not easy. No, I can do that. I know I can do a 3:20. So I was thinking in my head, if I just really go now, just give it everything you've got less, thinking that I've got, just seeing it start with a 3:17.
Yeah.
Just gave me everything I needed. So when I got to 800 to go, I was like, right, I'm going. I am going. And then you'll see in the video, like I started to pick up the pace, and that feeling of knowing that I had something left at a marathon towards the end was massive. And then I picked it up again with the magic downhill of the blue carpet with 400 to go. Now, if you've not done this race, if you have, you'll know exactly how this feels. But at 400 meters to go, you see this magical blue carpet that is not a polythene plastic bag that I thought it was. It's this beautiful, sea blue. It's just such a beautiful color. And I thought it would have been like, just laid on top of cobbles. But when you tread on it, it was like a raised platform, and it was so springy and bouncy. And when you're wearing Alpha Flies, going downhill, and you've been building that up in your head for the last 3.5 hours, I got excited. And my first few steps down that ramp, I nearly ended up in the water, in the little in the little water feature that they've got there, because I felt like Neil Armstrong. I was just striding down this ramp, and it felt amazing. And now I'm just thinking, after that 800, I didn't even bother checking my watch after that, because there's no point, is there? You just go, you give everything you've got.
Yeah.
And I remember just getting to the bottom of that ramp, the blue carpet disappears for a bit, you run back on the cobbles, and then with about just over 400 to 300 to go, the carpet is there again. And you can see the finish line. And it is just an incredible feeling, having something left to give, knowing that you've got a finish line to smash. Because I've been there before, like I said, where you haven't got anything left. And that finish line feels like, if anything, it's getting further away. When I did Manchester 18 months ago, I remember thinking, that's 800 meters away. That looks about 4 miles away, or that felt about 4 miles. But I was surprised at how much I had left to give. And I just went as hard as I physically could. I remember thinking, that's my line. I could see like a line that I could take to get to the finish, where I wouldn't have to weave and risk falling over or tripping someone else up. And I just ran as hard as I could. And I don't think anyone ran any faster than me. I don't think. A couple of people might have done me in the last K, but definitely not in that last 400. And I just ran as fast as I physically could. And I remember just crossing that line and just thinking, just letting out this sort of primal scream, this like roar of like emotion, that you can only explain if you finished a big race or a big effort. You just start producing these noises that you didn't know you could make. And it just felt amazing. It really did. It really just felt phenomenal to finish a marathon relatively feeling strong.
Mm-hmm.
Trumped any time that I could have got, I think, in that moment anyway.
Yeah.
It's only when you reflect on it afterwards, you think, could have maybe not chatted to Diego. Diego's getting a bad rep in here, really. It's all my fault. You know, everyone on this podcast, I like to blame something. Course was a bit long though. 400 meters long. But in that moment, in that very moment, the pride you feel, the achievement, the relief of it being over, But that feeling of finishing a marathon, and when you think like you finish and you think, I've done it, I've literally done it. It's euphoric, really, isn't it? It's euphoric.
Yeah.
That's how you feel. And to have felt like I was fading from that caffeine gel in the last 5K, to have finished strong was massive. And then I looked at my watch and it said 3:20:57, but I knew that wouldn't be right. I just knew, because I knew the whole way around my watch wasn't right, because I started my watch late. So I thought, I wonder if I've dipped below 3:20. And then the first thing I did, I went on the app and I saw it had got me in at 3:21:01. But in that moment, I was just feeling really, really proud.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
was just a brilliant feeling.
mate, I'm super proud of you, and I'm sure every single person listening or watching are 100% proud of you as well.
Oh, nice one. Thanks a lot.
Smashed it. You smashed it, mate. You really did.
I obviously wanted a little bit. We all want quicker times, don't we? No matter if you're blooming Kipchoge or anyone else, but like, I wanted a quicker time. So there was a little shred of disappointment there that my time now begins with 3:21. But when I sort of sat down, when I was walking through the the zombie section, when we're all just walking to get our medals, I had a little sit down and I thought, I've just done a 15-minute PB.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't cross my mind until I got home that this year I've taken 26 and a half minutes off my marathon time this year.
That's
Last
a minute
year,
a mile.
yeah, that's
minute a
mental.
mile.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous. I can't believe that. And this time last year, my season's best was 4:02 and 4:09 when I did Chester and York. And then in just over 2 years, I've taken an hour off my marathon time, because my first one was Brighton, 4:22. And 2.5 years later, I've done it in 3:21. So just it's difficult not to measure your success with numbers, but when you look at the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
you can take pride from that, and I have, and I do feel immensely proud and satisfied with the way I ran in Valencia. Of course, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I wonder that maybe could have saved 5 seconds here and 5 seconds there. And then obviously start to question if the easy start cost you in the end, or did it save me? That's something we'll never know.
No.
And that's something
the race was the race, and you raced how you needed to at that time. So
yeah, exactly. So I just feel immensely proud, and I can't believe it went as well as it went. And when you think about it, I mean, this is morbid to say, but people die doing marathons. Like, people have died doing marathons. Someone died at the Great North Run, and to cross a line, finishing happy and healthy, and to ring Laura as soon as I finished, tell her I love her, and it's like, what, I made it through. I've done another one under my belt, another adventure, and it's kind of like it just reinforces what an awesome sport this is, and an awesome community we're all part of, because the buzz and the atmosphere at the end of the marathon was like, maybe it was rose tinted glasses scenario, because I was feeling pleased about the way I'd run, but the vibe was just amazing. Everyone was so, you can talk to anyone in no matter what language. I saw people from all corners of the globe. I saw everyone from in Japanese vests and clubs to French, obviously Spanish, Argentinian, Brazilian, Americans. I spoke to so many Americans over there. Australians obviously came to run, because obviously a few of them did really well, didn't they? And it's just an incredible thing that I've managed to have done. And if I never ever race Valencia ever again, which I hope I do, then I've always got this fond memory of my first Valencia being amazing. But
incredible. Yeah,
just feeling really good.
But it was a proper worldwide race, because I was saying to you earlier, wasn't I? There was 11 national records at Valencia this year,
Was there?
which is crazy. So 11 different countries had their national record broken at
That's
Valencia.
amazing. Yeah.
One of the craziest was the Australian one, because he took, I think it was 70 seconds off Brett Robinson's Australian record, and Andy Buchanan run a 2:06.22.
That's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is he the ASICS runner?
I think
he was
he does run for ASICS. Yeah,
I think I saw him in ASICS.
He was
kit,
definitely wearing ASICS kit and shoes, but the Australian kit's ASICS as well, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw a Swiss runner break a record as well, and he was in On gear, because I think On is a Swiss brand.
Yes, it is. Yeah, Swiss engineering. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, 11 different national records, which is crazy. But
can I just get in as well? Just to toot my own horn. Negative split, baby.
Oh yeah, I was about to mention that, and I've completely forgot. On your thing, you negative split by a whole minute.
I am shocked, like absolutely shocked, that I managed to negative split a marathon, because, again, I don't want to sound like, you know how it sounds, but if my watch can be believed, I did the first half at 4:44 pace, which I know is slightly wrong. I mean, what I did was, because my watch said I did it in 42.6, so 400 meters over. So what I can do on my Garmin is I can slice the thing in half. I can what they call trim the activity. And the first 21.3 kilometers I did in 1:40.57, which is, I think, not far off, because I think my halfway split is about that.
1:40.58 was your official split halfway.
So this must be fairly right then. And then from 21.3 onwards, I did 1:39.57. So yeah, a minute negative split at pace 4:41. So my overall time on Garmin was 4:43. And remember, I said I needed a 4:44 to run a 3:20 marathon. Yeah. And here I am running a 3:21 marathon. So that goes to prove you need to run faster than target pace on your watch. Don't believe the truth. Yeah, don't believe your watch. Exactly, Misa. I'm as frustrated as you. I can't believe it. Oh, hang on, someone at the door. Oh, let me just go and ask.
There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door.
Okay, actually, I'm going to leave this door open just in case there's any more Christmas tree falls. Not that we've got any more to break.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah, so you went through halfway officially in 1:40.58, which means that you were on for a 1:21.56.
3:21. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, 3:21.56 you were on for.
Yeah. So I made up nearly a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which is hard to do. No, God, that sounds so boasty, but I put the work in. I knew it was going to be hard, and I worked out that the 1:40 and the 1:39 that I ran were my fourth and fifth fastest ever halves, or third and fourth, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was that's a mega pleasing moment as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
incredible work.
It's a case of everything, really. I tried to just stay relaxed as much as I could. And do you know what I didn't do this time, which I'm slightly regretful about this, but I didn't have any fun at all with the crowd. Like I didn't shout, "Let's go," or "Vamos," or, I didn't really get involved with the crowd, because, I mean, this is another thing about Valencia. It's, quote unquote, it's a serious marathon. It's like, I've said this to a few people. I didn't see one Save the Rhino. I didn't see anyone dressed as a hot dog. I didn't see anyone dressed as a Willy Wonka or anything like that. Everyone was there to run probably to their potential, or to run to not, for example, there's a 5-hour 30 hard cutoff that I read as well. So apparently there's a sweeper vehicle, and if you were less than a few K away, they literally picked you up. They forced you to get in the car. Apparently they took your chip and your bib off you.
Oh, wow.
If you didn't get to a certain checkpoint by the cutoff time. And they were pretty hard about that. And apparently it's in the T's and C's as well. So that going in. And everyone knows the reputation of Valencia anyway. Like, for example, if you've never done any training, like, the good thing about Valencia is it's not an influencers marathon. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's not going to be one of the side men, KSI, or one of his mates, one of his cronies, not going to go to Valencia and run a marathon. He's going to go to New York or London and do it.
Yeah.
So it's like people are there because they've trained and they want to be there and they deserve to be there.
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons I loved it so much, because I am a runner. And I do want to challenge myself by the clock. I was there to run a time. I'd given myself a really quite ambitious target, and I was there to run my socks off. And that's
Exactly.
and I wasn't alone. I couldn't believe, when I think about the space around me, for example, when I ran Yorkshire or Chester, compared to here, Valencia, there were so many people at my pace and faster and slightly slower. It was like, it was like a big park run, like it was, no, that's a bad example. It wasn't like a park run at all, because it didn't really have that kind of atmosphere. It was like, it was like a big time trial. I can't really explain it, but everyone was there to try hard.
Yeah.
There was no messing about. But the crowds there, by the way, were brilliant, really good. There was a couple of quiet sections earlier on in the race, but someone compared this to London as well, where the last 5K or 10K, obviously there's some noisy sections like Greenwich and Cutty Sark and Tower Bridge, but the crowd just builds and builds, and before you know it, it's overwhelmingly loud.
Yeah.
And that just carries you to the finish.
Yeah.
And
I think the difference in atmosphere of the people racing Valencia as well, though, is because there's no ballot. It's just a straight you enter. There's nobody putting in an entry just on the off chance, on a whim of, I'd quite like to run a marathon. People are only entering because they want to go and do well at Valencia. Whereas all the majors and the bigger races, people are putting a ballot entry in just because they saw it on TV and just thought, that looks fun. So you've got lots of people who are just taking part because that's the first run they've ever done. Whereas Valencia is a serious, I'm going there to run fast.
Yeah. And it just felt a bit like the Mecca. It felt, I know it's not the Mecca, because there are other places in the world where people will want to run fast times, but maybe Chicago, Berlin, maybe, but it's right up there. And people, there was rumblings saying it should be a major, but in a part of me hopes that it never does become a major, if you know what I mean. Here I am getting defensive about it. I've only done it once, but from what I saw, it needs to keep its reputation as a fast road marathon.
Yeah. I think it probably will. Yeah, because if you do go down the major marathon route, then that whole thing of the ballot and people running over 5.5 hours starts coming into play.
Yeah.
Whereas, that's not what it's about.
No, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with.
Oh, of course.
But if you are a runner of that sort of time, Valencia is not for you, because you won't enjoy it. It's not a forgiving kind of atmosphere in the same way that I imagine London maybe, or New York, or, imagine if you're at 32K and someone just run on the course and said, no, sorry, mate, time's up. You're off. I know you paid €150 to be here, but no, you didn't make the cutoff. Like, it's not like what I imagine London would be, or any of the big ones like that. So, maybe one day Valencia will be for you, but if you're at those sort of times, I don't think it's the one for you. I think there are other better suited marathons for you. However, if you're in decent shape and you fancy a real crack at a good fast marathon, or whatever fast is for you, then Valencia's probably the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I put out last night on our Instagram, a little question box on our story to see if anybody had any questions for you about the race or the race weekend. And we've had a few responses.
Oh,
So
cool.
shall we quickly go through these questions that people have
Yep.
sent in? Right.
Let's do
So
it.
first one is from Kieran Turner.
Yep. Okay, dog.
And he says, were you at any point looking at heart rate, or was it all just about maintaining pace?
Never. Didn't look at heart rate once, because I knew after the shakeout that I'd had before, when I was in the 160s, running really easy, I thought it was pointless, because all that's going to. I remember when you say, I remember when I cast my mind back to my It's on Andy race, when you gave me a bollocking for looking at my watch, looking at my heart rate. I know that it's a bad move. It can only end in tears.
Yeah.
To look at your heart rate. I mean, yes, it could potentially save your life if you're in the 220s, but at which point you don't need a watch to tell you that. You'd know.
Yeah.
I would just know psychologically that I'm getting closer and closer and closer to threshold. I think my max heart rate towards the end, according to Garmin anyway, was 183 or something like that. So I was right at the top end, but that was obviously towards the end. But no, to answer your question, didn't even care about heart rate or anything. Only thing that mattered to me, only numbers that mattered to me, was my average pace.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that was the right way to go about it, because heart rate was always going to be higher in a hotter climate as well. So
yeah, and I've been literally leading up for this, basically my whole running life, not let alone the 4 months I've been training for it. So I was full of anxiety anyway.
Yeah,
I was full of anticipation and worry, basically. So why do I need anything else to overcomplicate it?
Next question is from Colette, and she says, congratulations on Valencia, amazing result. What's next? Any races planned? Sorry, hang on 2 secs. I can see you about to jump. Come on. Thank you.
I'll stop you there. Thank you. What's next? What is next? Well, I'll tell you what's next. The sub 20 attempt. Because I've just got to find a day that I can do it, a Saturday, that I can do it at a Parkrun.
Well, something I was going to suggest is, do we end the year like we did a couple of years ago? Do it on Christmas Day.
I considered that. I have considered that. But I might be on, because I've got to pick my mom up on Christmas Day morning via Parkrun. And I think I might have Daisy with me. So I will never fit. I'm having a hard time with Daisy today anyway. But if I'm looking at my watch and it's saying 19:20 with 100 to go, and she fancies stopping for her to do, to curl one out, I will never forgive her, ever. I'll get her on the plane back to Spain, say, see ya. Yeah. So it's been a good couple of years, but you're on your own now.
Yeah.
You've ruined it for me. So yeah, I don't think I'd ever do an attempt like that for with Daisy, but maybe Christmas Day if I can somehow work it out. But there's a few Saturdays leading up. I mean, this Saturday, no. Next Saturday, potentially, I'm still too tired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd give it a couple of weeks at least. Yeah,
and then, but I think Christmas Day is the last Parkrun of the year, isn't it?
Yeah. Because it'll be oh no, actually no, because it's a Wednesday. So then there'd be one on the Saturday afterwards, and then New Year's Day Parkrun.
So, like the 29th or something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, that's what's next for me, is trying to get under 20 minutes for the 5K. I've got no race. I've got one race booked in for February, which is Warwick Half Marathon, but no spring marathon. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do a spring marathon. I'm going to do what you basically did, but the opposite. I'm going to do no marathon in spring and one in autumn. So yeah, that's what's next, is the 5K.
Nice. So next one is from Alan RFC72, and he says, will Andy be returning for a sub 320 attempt next year?
Well, If I'm honest, I hope I'm a minute faster by 12 months' time. So if I do Valencia, you better believe I will have a much more ambitious goal than 320. I don't want to get greedy, but I'm wondering what a 315 might sound like, or even a 310. So I haven't quite booked Valencia yet, but I think I'm going to, because once you do Valencia, you get the option of returning next year before they go on general sale.
Yeah.
So I better get my act together, because that was 2 or 3 days ago. So yes, I'm very interested in returning to Valencia, to answer your question.
Amazing. Next question is from Run with LH, and he says, when did you truly realise, shit, I'm on for a PB here? Got my first marathon in April.
Honestly, with a K to go.
Oh, wow.
Because I never, ever would be that able to predict the future. And especially in a marathon, you can be on until it's not on.
Yeah.
You can get cramp and have to walk the last 10K. And I genuinely wasn't thinking I'm definitely going to get a PB. Because I think the second you get cocky, that's when things can turn ugly for yourself. So, but genuinely, when I saw those numbers turn into triple digits, when it turned to 900, 800, like I said, that last podcast, all I've got to do is not fuck this up.
Yeah.
I realized, yeah. I mean, I think I knew going into it, I'd be, like I said, disappointed not getting a PB. But during the race, I was fully focused on keeping on pace. And that I didn't realize how much quicker than Newport that pace was. I genuinely didn't even consider, wow, I've just done a 15-minute PB. I didn't even consider that until after the race. But I knew that it was going to be a good day at the office when I got into triple digits to go. So, I didn't get too cocky for a change.
In contrast to that, I was listening to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast, the Dan Nash one. Yeah. And his review of Valencia, he said after 5K, he knew it was going to be a good day and he was going to PB.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Which is mad. And he ran a 212.
212. God. I mean, that's
crazy.
confidence. Imagine having that much confidence going in that early.
I know.
Fair play, mate. That's amazing.
But, also, another story on that podcast that I thought I should mention is one of Dan Nash's mates. He's a vet 40, I think he's 42, was running, and he was aiming for a PB. And in the first, I think it was within the first K, he tripped up, and quite a few of them went down and hit the floor. Wow. And apparently he lost half his gels. They all just disappeared somewhere. He lost his £120 pair of sunglasses. They just fell off and disappeared somewhere. So he scrambled back to his feet, ran the race, came in with a PB of 2:15, which is incredible. After he'd fallen over.
Mate.
I spotted
well spotted. Yeah.
But so ran 2:15, ran his PB, and then saw Dan at the end and said, "Oh, I fell over at the start, and I'm not sure if I got concussion, and my ribs really hurt." Flew back to the UK, went to the hospital, and they said, "Yeah, you had concussion and you've broken a rib."
God, that's crazy to run a marathon, a really strong PB as well, with a broken rib.
I know. That adrenaline must have been pumping.
Yeah. So. Wow. That is. Do you know what? I must say, the first 5K, by the way, I can see why accidents happen, because it was congested, and even at my pace, and probably faster and slower, people experience this because people are running different paces. Some people have got different race plans. Some people don't want to run a steadier 5K. People just want to go. So I can totally see why it's so easy to clip someone's heels, but you've just got to hope and pray that it's not you that ends up on the deck.
Yep.
Because, by the way, I tried to cling on to that blue line because I've never raced a marathon with a blue line before. And it's so cool to run on it. But there are, as people probably felt around me, there are hoggers, there are blue line hoggers.
Yes.
And people that are moving at different speeds to you. So you obviously have to keep going around it. But in the early stages of Valencia, I thought it'd be a good idea to run in the bus lane or the cycle lane and not run with the masses. Terrible idea, because I literally nearly wrote myself off within 2K, because in Valencia, the cycle lanes have all got bollards.
Oh, yes.
And I was looking left and right, just seeing what was going on. I think I was even doing a bit of filming. And I was running down this cycle lane, and no joke, I felt a bollard bollock high brush past my shorts. I literally nearly put myself in Spanish A&E. And I thought, right, I'm just going to get in the mixer now. I'm not risking doing it. And then there were people dodging wheelie bins and all sorts. But the bollards were just, because they're like white. They're bright white as well, so they're easy to miss.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that.
Nice.
You can so easily write yourself off.
Yeah, I almost did that with a cone at Manchester, trying to run to the side of a group, and I was too busy talking to my camera, and when I looked down, I was more or less on a cone, so I had to like jump around it.
Yeah. It's so because there's so much going on around you, especially in the early stages. You're not 100% locked in and focused, are you?
Yeah.
So accidents definitely can happen. Yeah.
Next question is from friend of the podcast, Mac Ashworth.
Here he is.
And he says, was there a moment where you regretted your shoe choice or absolutely loved it?
Never once. After the race, I felt my middle toes feel a bit sore. But apart from that, I think I made the right choice. I think those Alpha Fly ones, I just really get on well with them. I think they're really, really good. So yeah, never once, never ever once did I think these shoes have given me jip, or they felt comfortable throughout. And honestly, feeling the energy return from that platform going down the hill and 400 to go in Alpha Flies, like I said, I felt like Neil Armstrong. So it was I was like striding through Valencia. So those little 60 quid Amazon vintage purchases were one of the best things I've made.
Yeah, amazing. Next question is from Ash Spedding, and they say, how did you find the heat?
Yeah, well, you just get on with it, don't you? Because you can't just say, no, it's a bit hot today, I don't really fancy it, I'll go later. Like you've just got to get on with it. You can only play the cards you dealt, can't you? And you've all got to run in the same conditions. So it's just about trying to just manage it as best you can, whether that's pouring water over your back. I saw a guy who a lot of you will probably follow called Matt, Run the Planet. I didn't realize he did this, but his wife, I think, or his partner gave him what looked like a cooling neck thing, an ice pack to go, so that you could have done that for the last 10K or so. Just staying hydrated was the main thing the day before, because I knew that I wouldn't take on much water on the course. And ask me how many times I was sick.
How many times were you sick?
None. I couldn't believe it.
You obviously didn't push yourself hard enough, did you?
I didn't drink enough water. So I think I got my fueling and my water fairly right on the day. But yeah, it's all about hydrating, isn't it, really? And if you are really feeling it, you've obviously got to back off. Yeah. But for me, I just felt like I'd done the training to pace in the long runs, and it was only a little bit hotter than I'd been used to, really. I mean, we've not had a really cold winter of training. Average, I've basically been training in 10 degrees, between 10 and 18 degrees from August. Like, it's not really been much colder than 10, really. So it wasn't that different. But it was like end of summertime, it was warm. You would have felt it, especially when it's obviously wintertime in the UK. So yes, it was hard, but it's nothing you can't work through.
And last question, and this is a great one, is from good old Leggett Lee.
Yeah.
And he says, did you think of any random footballers as you were running?
Gaisca Mendieta, Pablo Aimar, and Claudio Lopez. So yes, that they will mean a lot to Leggett Lee, because we ran at 18k. We ran past the Estadio Mestalla, which is the home of Valencia Football Club, and I just remember from watching Revista de la Liga, which I don't know why I said in an Italian accent, but that is like the match of the day for Spain. And I remember watching those players back in the day. So yes, Lee, I was trying to desperately thinking of Joaquin and all those players that have graced the white and black and red and yellow trim of Valencia. So yes, they definitely got me through, mate. Definitely.
Excellent.
Claudio Lopez, what a left peg. Oh, before we go, mate, but I don't know if you were going to do this. There was a couple of people who I should probably give honourable mentions to.
Oh, yes, go on.
Who did well. So I do apologise in advance if we don't get round to you, but a few people that I knew were doing the race. First of all, I've got Cisse Lemma, big fan of the podcast. He did it in 2:04. He won it last year. So a couple of people. Obviously, the Woo did the race. He has been hard on himself, I think, and thought that he didn't do as well as he perhaps wanted. But he's also what I love about Will is a realist. He's not doesn't live in dreamland, and he knew going into this that a sub 3 would be a big ask, which is what he was aiming for. But he did really well, and he got in at 3:04, 3:04.06.
He said in his posts that it wasn't really about the sub 3, but it was getting back into that mental space of being able to push through when it gets difficult. And that's exactly what he did. He found the last 10k tough, didn't he? But he pushed through and got a really good time. So amazing work, Will. Really, really good running.
Will Ford, who's written into the podcast a few times, who I was wondering if I'd see in the pen, but never did. He did 3:16.50. He remembers him saying, "I'm going for 3:20."
Amazing.
So that's an incredible result.
Yeah,
so very, very well done, mate. Another shout out to Henry and Aveen, who live down the road. So Aveen did 3:39. And Henry, who I met up for beers with afterwards, he got round in 2:46.
Amazing.
Mark Stockwell, who is a bit of an OG running with Andy kind of guy. He said he was going out to Valencia. He did 3:28. So congratulations to Mark. That's a really, really good performance. Now, Neil Vizara, I think we're saying your name right, who I didn't realise is the famous Neelyville, who's written in a few times.
Yeah.
And said, because I got featured on another YouTuber's comment video called Tim Gross.
Yes, I completely forgot to mention that. Yeah, I've got that written down to talk about.
And I didn't watch it until afterwards because I just didn't want anything to get in my head. I'm glad I didn't, because Neil wrote in the comments, he said, I'll follow Andy, blah, blah, blah. And Tim said, yeah, you'll be starting not far from Andy. And Neil said, yeah, to be honest, I just want to beat him. And and he did as well. He beat me by 2 minutes. So well done, Neil.
Amazing work, Neil.
3:19.16. So yeah, really, really good performance. I ran with a guy called Edwin, who I've mentioned, from Holland, who's a great lad. He did 3:24.41. Gareth, Welsh Gaz, did 3:45. So well done to Gaz as well. And a couple of mentions from the other side of the Irish Sea. I've met Neil, who, again, some of you will watch on YouTube. If you don't, go and check him out. His channel is called Run Sensible. He was going for 3:05, ended up with 3:11. He was really happy considering the heat and the difficulty of the day. And someone else from his running club is called James Killiley. I think that's how you say his name. He wanted sub 3. He did 2:59.33.
Yes.
So amazing work from James. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everyone. Obviously, there were a few YouTubers that their videos are out and about on YouTube, so you can go and check out how they did. But yeah, so well done to everyone that raced Valencia with me.
Amazing work, everybody.
Um,
Go
do
on.
you remember our little number that we both wrote down?
Yes, so it's stuck on the screen in front of me right now. Before we do that, though,
Yeah.
I, on our Instagram again, put
Yep.
up a story saying I would put up a prize of a Obi-Wan Run Club tee to whoever predicted closest to your finish time. And there were some people who were really backing you to do well, and some people who underestimated your ability. So predictions ranged from 3:30 all the way down to 3:16. So there was a
Wow.
14-minute difference between
That's
people's
mad.
predictions.
That's mad that everybody thought that I was going to PB. That's a compliment.
Yeah. So I would
So
say, hang on. Yeah, so everybody thought you were going to PB, but hang on. 2/3 of the predictions said you were going to run a 3:20 or lower.
really,
Yeah.
Strava's 3:18. I mean, that's the one that we go by, isn't it?
But closest, honourable mention for closest was Gary Manders, who said he was predicting a 3:22, which wasn't what he wanted you to run, but he said allowing for weather, that's what he thought. He thought you were capable of going sub 3:20, but
Yeah.
he thought 3:22 because of the weather. But the closest guess was Mark Hurdy-Gurdy, who guessed 3:20.53. So he was what, 8 seconds off?
8 seconds off. That's not bad. Across 3 hours and 21 minutes. Yeah.
So congratulations, Mark. I will get a tee in the post to you this week. So yeah, I will let you know when it's on the way. But thank you so much to everybody who got in touch to guess. It's great that we've got so much interaction from listeners and viewers. That's ace.
Yeah.
But would you like to reveal our predictions?
Yeah. So I've written here my predicted finish time. Sat here this time last week. I thought I would have.
Well, I'm going to do mine first because you said your prediction was a number you'd had in your head for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Whereas mine was just on that day, I went, I reckon you're in this shape.
Yeah.
And I was backing you big time.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
I went for 3:16.38.
Sorry to let you down, man.
No. You didn't let me down at all, mate. I thought anything around 3:20 would be incredible, and it was. But I honestly think that if the weather wasn't so hot, you were in around 3:16, 3:17 shape.
I think, yeah, a British spring or autumn marathon where it's, 6 degrees in the morning and you cross the line and it's 13 degrees. I think I could have shaved 3 minutes off, 4 minutes, maybe. Because I think I would have gone even harder second half and maybe less steadily in the morning in the first 10K. But that just gives me fuel for the next one because I know now what to expect when I do Valencia again. So and I know what my body can do.
Yeah, exactly. The number you had in your head for a long time was
the top number 3:19.19. I was convinced I was going to do 3:19.19. So
you weren't far off, mate. You weren't far off.
No, that's what I because I was trying to hype myself, but also cancel out a bit of the noise. People were saying, "Oh, you could easily do 3:15," which would have been a stretch. But on another day, I could have got close. And who knows?
I mean, that is only. I know I'm saying it's only, but it's 3 seconds a mile, just over, isn't it?
And let's not forget, I am the Bromsgrove Ingebrigtsen. I can only do it when I'm paced. So if I'd have had a personal pacer there, if I'd have had you there, then I could have even gone even quicker. But considering I was doing that, navigating that whole race myself, I'm sounding like a little kid here. But considering I was getting through that, muddling my way through, I'm genuinely just really pleased with that. So just gives me fire.
Yeah.
Just to go again.
Amazing work, mate.
So yeah.
Incredible.
Who knows?
So just before we finish off, because we are like
PB
again,
territory.
We should possibly do the Strava segment.
Here we go.
So last week's leaderboard, our distance leader in first place was Ryan Baker from Rayleigh Adventures, who topped the leaderboard with 70.4 miles. So great work, Ryan. In second was Jack Bancroft with 70 miles on the nose.
He knows.
And third was Jonathan Hutchins. Is it Jonathan? No, Jonathan Hutchinson. Sorry, with 69.2 miles. Our climbing leaders. First was Roberto Mendez with 5,007 foot. Second was Jack Blackburn with 4,518 foot. And third was Jordan Knapp with 3,327 foot.
I'm glad Roberto did it. That's quite fitting with this Valencia episode, isn't it? Sounds like he plays for Valencia.
And then our top three ladies, in first place was D. Cook Rees with 56.9 miles. Second was Chloe Hamard with 50.1 miles. And third was Victoria Lee with 40.2 miles. So amazing work, everybody.
Amazing. Yeah, inspiring stuff.
Great work. So yeah, if you haven't yet, go and join our club on Strava. And if you haven't, please subscribe on YouTube. Give the video a like and subscribe to the channel, because it would be great to get a few more subscribers and have this channel pay for itself, which would be incredible at some point. So that's maybe a target for next year, is to get to that amazing 1,000 subscriber mark. We're a fair way off, but we're getting there.
We're almost nearly a year old as well, aren't we?
I know. Yeah, January will be our year anniversary. So
that's not bad, is it? 45 podcasts, pretty much, with a 5 or 6 week break as well. I'm quite pleased with that consistency.
There's only 52 weeks in the year. We got to 45, and we've got another couple for this year. So not bad at all. But yeah, give us a subscribe on YouTube, and give us a follow on whatever podcast platform you use. And I have noticed, actually, because it's Spotify Wrapped season, isn't it? So we've had a few tags of from a few people to say we were in their top 5 of their podcasts they've been listening to this year, which is incredible. I can't quite believe that. We've got the viewership and listenership that we've got from this small idea we had on New Year's last. We're
going to be massive. We're going to be massive. We're going to be bigger than Woolworths one day.
What, closed down?
Yeah. We're going to be huge.
But yeah, so thank you so much, Andy. Incredible work, mate.
Cheers. Nice one. It's been
super proud of you, mate.
It's been a really good process, and the race day, like you said, was the cherry on the cake. So I'm glad the way it went. Glad it went the way it went.
Yeah, incredible.
And thanks for everyone for their support as well, from like well wishes to listening to this podcast to however you've supported me. It's been massively felt and appreciated, and you all got me over that line. So big love.
Amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for watching or listening. And we will see you next week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. I'm off to learn some more Spanish. The perro next to mi apartamento. The dog. Oh, who is this idiot?